Holy shit. Welcome back to the show, guys. It's only Tuesday. It's already been a long week. Let's see here. So, I'll let a few more people file in here. Hey, Mr. Mayor, how's it going? A couple of news things to touch on. And then after that, I will go to open topics. So if you guys want to request some stuff, I think some people here on Discord wanted to ask a couple questions, but I don't have a whole lot of time today, but I figured since I do have a little bit of time, I'll hop on stream here and talk to all you fine folks. So let's see here. Father Sam, wake up. You're live. Let me poke him. Hold on. He's got himself muted. Hey, Mullock, how's it going? Yeah, almost 2K. 1900. That's pretty good. Mute myself there. How's the book club going? It's a little bit slower. Life gets in the way a little bit. Father Sam says he'll be on in just a sec. He's discussing Lothrop Stoddard. I'll wait for him before I go into the topics. That'll be fine. Turn myself down just a little bit. Check the stream health. I can't make any promises, but I don't think that we're gonna cut out this time. Last stream, internet took a shit right there at the end and it killed it, so my apologies, but speed's good. It's just not super reliable. Yeah, I think I need to give the book club a little bit of a rethink and see what I can do to improve it, because it was good while it lasted, but you know, after a month, you tend to either forget what you were reading or you're not as into it as you were, and especially if it's a really, really long book, it tends to drag on just a little bit. What's up, Falcon? Did we talk about Trump yet? No, not yet. I'm waiting on someone to join, and then I'll go into the news. But yeah, like I said, it's... I don't know. There's something I think I could do better. I had exams last month and mostly studied then. Over halfway through politics. Been reading the past hour or so. Well, that's good. It's always good to read as much as you can. But yeah, like I said, it's... I think there's something I can do better. This is huge, says Blau. What's so huge about this? What are you talking about, the summit? I think we'll talk about the summit first for a little bit. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say, really, about the North Korea summit. You know, it wasn't as big a deal. At least there wasn't as much happening as some people expected, you know. But like I said, we'll get into that here soon. Yeah, he says Trump and Kim. Yeah, yeah, we'll get there, but like I said, not as big a deal as some people thought it was going to be. Live ASMR book reading. Would people even watch that? I mean, what? I know there's a whole bunch of things I could be reading, but would people even watch that? I don't know. I thought about reading or doing a live critique of some of Rousseau's writings, but I don't know. Let's see. Let me just tweet this out real quick. There you go, Twitterverse. There's another tweet. That would seriously explode your views for no other reason than the fact that it's a meme. Yeah, I guess. What industry will rise from North Korea being open? Oh, man. A whole bunch of industries. Doesn't Kayla sometimes read on her streams? I don't know. I don't think she ever has. As far as I know, she usually just has really good guests. That's why I watch the show. Yeah. So as far as North Korea and industry, well, let's see. The whole country's going to have to get rebuilt. So basically everything. I mean, pretty much everything needs to be industrialized. The roads, with the exception of a couple cities, most of the roads are still unpaved. Mostly dirt roads. Their construction equipment is still very old and outdated, so there's an industry there. Food, obviously, they have a lack of food. The agriculture industry, I think, is going to be pretty huge there. There's going to be a McDonald's in North Korea. Seriously, it's planned. Oh, I have no doubts that one of these fast food companies are going to attempt to be the first one to open an American fast food chain in the country. I mean, it's just publicity, right? You know, Walmart, McDonald's, Subway, whatever the fuck. They're going to try and do something to get advertisement revenue. I got a rare one then. I remember after Jared Taylor was on, she started a new stream to do a bit of reading. Oh, yeah, I didn't see that. I only caught the first bit of that stream, so I didn't see it. North Koreans don't think much of weed as a drug. Maybe we could send our stoners over there. Juju Kush. That's an idea. I don't know if you can even grow weed in North Korea, but there you go. Potcoin, Dennis Rodman, and cannabis farmers in North Korea. They're going to turn it into the California of Asia. Oh, yeah. News. Where's my news list at? White imperialist widow. That's funny. Richard Spencer's going on with Frame Game at 11 on Brundlefly's channel. Do you think it's a good idea for Spencer to call Frame an ally? Yeah, sure. Why not? I like Frame. Frame does really good videos. I don't. It depends on what context you consider people allies. I mean, whole bunch of different people have different ideas of what allies are. You know, some people consider an ally someone who they would, be willing to die for. Some people consider an ally to be.
Thought I had key activation on there.
Oh, sorry, I had to unmute you, Ruffin. Welcome to the show.
Oh, you're live right now. Sorry, I'm flicking between 20 different things at the same time, so I'm sorry, still catching up. Hello to everyone.
Yeah, we're live. We're just shooting the shit. Father Sam's doing something, otherwise he'd be here. But no, we're just talking about some questions in the chat. North Korea being open, what kind of industry will pop up there? I basically said literally everything. Oh, and then we were talking about alliances. Sneer Quote says, Richard Spencer's going on with Frame Game at 11 on Brundlefly's channel. Do you think it's a good idea for Spencer to call Frame an ally? And I said it depends on what the context of the word ally means. I don't really like to use the term because it seems so subjective and has so many different definitions to different people. You know, when some people say ally, they think blood brother. Other people say ally and they mean, just some guy that I consider a friend, you know.
Yeah, I would actually argue as well. The term ally implies that you'll stand by them through a lot more. If they're in the wrong, do you still stand by an ally? Well, of course you do. They're an ally. You know, it kind of goes
Right.
beyond just having their back a bit. Uh, I mean, for what I've seen with Frame Game, a lot of the material he's been putting out. I mean, I think he's actually been doing a lot of really good work with JF, but yeah, ally, maybe a bit of a stretch.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. His content is really good, and I think it's really helpful, especially the stuff he's doing with JF and the diversity industry. But I don't think ally is the right term. Maybe Spencer will use that term. I don't know. We will see.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. I was actually earlier on. I was going to watch that most recent one, What to Do Next. I'm sort of still catching up on, and
Mm,
yeah,
yep.
see what comes out of that. But the expose, what he's been doing on the media and everything has been absolutely fantastic, and a lot of his projections on what's going to be happening with Europe and America with the demographic changes and that, they have been absolutely fantastic. And if anybody's not seen them yet, I'd thoroughly recommend watching them.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, anyone who's putting good content out there that's a part of the dissident right movement is someone worth watching. And I'll tell people to go and watch them. It doesn't necessarily mean I endorse all of their views or I'm suddenly their ally or something like that, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but even I mean, if somebody's putting up a good argument and good points, even if they're totally opposed to you, it's worthwhile listening to what their arguments are and absorbing them. Um, I think having a good enemy is almost better than having a good ally in terms of helping you sharpen the whetstone of your skills.
Yeah, sure. That's why I tell people you need to read Das Kapital if you're going to be against Marxism. You know, you have to read your enemy's material. Not saying he's an enemy, no, but in general, if you're in opposition to something, you need to understand very much in depth what that thing is in order to explain why you're in opposition to it. But
Yeah, definitely.
the Irish conspiracy. I'm just reading Discord here. North Korea needs
Yeah, I'll
Australian
just have a look at
Aboriginals. 6 Gorillion died in the potato famine.
Oh, I wish. Seriously, we've never got around to dealing with the Irish problem, but it does need to be addressed at some point.
North Korea, welcome to the global homo gayplex. Need a low interest loan? Yeah, pretty much. That's the one thing I'm afraid of is our financial system leaking into their country because they're one of the few countries that doesn't have how would you describe it? I mean, they have their own shitty version of borrowing and government lending and spending, but they're not tied to the IMF or anything like that. They can pretty much do whatever they want. They're one of the three countries, Iran, Libya, and North Korea. Those are the three. One of them got destroyed. Another one is, in talks with Trump, and the other one is constantly, talking shit to Israel. And you guys know the Iran situation. Jesus, it's a fucking mess.
Yeah. I think it'll be quite sad, actually. I mean, considering how long they've kind of held themselves together, and I don't agree with North Korea, I don't have any fondness for them, but I do think there's going to be a tear on a lot of people's faces when they see a McDonald's get slapped up in Pyongyang. It's,
That's that's the interesting thing is like I don't like a Juche ideology. I don't like their proto-Marxist North Korean version of communism, which is the reason why they're all fucking starving and half dead. But at the same time, they have managed to preserve some ounce of culture and their own way of life, and they don't, as far as I know, there's not really any outsiders interfering with their society. So if it wasn't so communistic, I think they would have been fine. But that's usually how it goes.
yeah. I mean, I haven't seen exactly what's all happening with this process here. I mean, I've been catching some of the headlines, but I haven't actually caught up on all of it.
Hmm.
But I do think it will be quite sad if this just gets opened up as a new frontier for corporations to rape and pillage all the natural resources. And I'm not, I hate capitalism in its current forms. It's definitely one of the true enemies.
Yeah, that much I can agree with, at least in its its current form of globalism. You know, um, I think that there's going to be a large emphasis on South Korean companies helping to rebuild with Chinese help along the border. I don't know if there's some kind of ending. It all depends on what happens to the war. If there's a peace treaty, great. Then probably there's going to be a bit of a loosening on the borders. They're going to get some industry, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there. It's probably not going to be an open market. Probably something more similar to China's mixed economy in some way. But the alternative is reunification, which I don't think is likely. But you know, you can at least think about it happening. And if the peninsula unifies, it's going to be very tough for everybody for the next 20 or so years, because one, you have a melding of culture that has separated itself, and two, because North Korea, it's just a shithole compared to South Korea, and the amount of resources that are going to have to be poured into North Korea in order to fix it are astronomical. And I think China obviously wants a piece of the pie. They want to jump over that river there and take some of those coal mines that North Korea has right on its border. I don't think that we would allow that to happen. So you're going to get some more tension between China and the West potentially. It's hard to say, but either way, there's a lot of work ahead of us if Kim Jong-un is willing to modernize his country and sort of give up some of his ideology.
Yeah, I was just thinking it could actually be. Are the people in the country, if they start changing rapidly in that country, are the people there even psychologically prepared for what that actually means? It's
yeah.
I would very. I look.
Oop. I'm dropping some frames.
Over there, up with became the caricature that they used to present the West as, and I just, regardless of what's happened in North Korea historically, see that happen to another country, other than what's been happening there recently, but it doesn't make the other particular nice either. There was that comment where was in the ends.
Jesus. Okay. What the fuck is happening? Hello? Oh, Jesus. Okay, I think we're back. Oh my god. That was not good. Son of a bitch. Okay, sorry about that, guys. The stream just died there for a second.
On my screen, you seem muted and deafened, but for some reason, you could still talk.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Nice.
Seems like everybody's arguing in the Discord there.
Everybody wants to debate you because he knows Joe's arguments are high quality.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, you seem to know him as well.
Yeah, of course I do, because he's constantly on my tail. Oh, your ideas are so terrible. Here, let me constantly
Here, let me
comment
say something retarded.
Yeah, Robert, you're welcome to the stream, Robert. Sorry, I had you muted.
Okay. Why were you dropping out? Do you think the European-style socialists were doing it?
I guess so. The fucking stream keeps fucking dying here. I've dropped like 3,500 frames in the past 5 minutes.
This might seem a bit personal, but what internet provider do you have? This
fucking
Comcast, Echo, Echo, Echo.
I'm so glad I live in a developed country and I don't have to deal with like casino capitalist providers.
I think that when it comes to Kim Jong Un, if you live in like a place like North Dakota or Wyoming, you're pretty much safe from either Assad and Russia or Kim Jong Un because you're so in such a remote area.
Hmm.
But the coasts are going to be really fucked. Like, New York's going to be struck by Russia, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Dallas, maybe.
Nobody's gonna nuke each other.
Well,
Yeah.
since we're all here, let me switch to the correct. There we go. Okay, everyone can see your name on stream now. So let's talk about North Korea here now that the stream is stable for a minute.
Oh my.
So, let's see. Okay, so did you guys follow exactly what happened yesterday at the summit?
Yeah, you went in, they shook hands. There were shit ton of the press, and then they signed an agreement that North Korea will commit to full denuclearization. Had a bit of a talk, might have been private. I didn't watch that part. And the media, not surprisingly, still criticized him.
Of course.
Right. So basically, what happened was Trump and Kim Jong Un and a bunch of their advisors went to Singapore, and they had a little meet and greet. It was the first time a North Korean president has met a U.S. president and had a face-to-face talk with him. And the only outcome as of right now is that they signed an agreement that North Korea agrees to complete denuclearization of the country. Now, obviously, some of the detractors of this have said, well, this doesn't mean much. This doesn't mean anything. North Korea's said this in the past. Well, Trump's flaky, all of those types of things. The only difference here, and those are perfectly valid, I'll give them that. Not a whole lot really happened. They just reaffirmed denuclearization, and they had a little get-together. But that's the key issue here, is that this is not usual behavior for people like Kim Jong-un or anyone in North Korea's history. They don't do this type of thing. So it seems like the gears are being oiled just a little bit on on a change in the Korean Peninsula. That's what it appears like to me. Now, this summit was nothing huge. It was a step in the right direction, and it was fairly historic. And the memes have been great, but I don't think it's as big as some people made it out to be.
I think it's more strategic, right? Kim Jong-un knows he can't keep the fucking closed kingdom going for the rest of his existence, right? He needs to modernize. He needs telecom. He needs television upgrading. Have you seen the 3D intro for North Korea? It's kind of pathetic.
Well,
he needs to get internet. He needs to get supermarkets, right? He needs to get an army that isn't made up out of T-34s. This economy needs to be opened up, and he's not going to be anyone worth anything if he doesn't take this peace agreement, right? Because nukes are nice, but having cash to buy stuff that people actually fear is even nicer.
yeah, basically, he doesn't. Unlike his father and his grandfather, he's not as ideologically driven as them because he never had to take part in a revolution. He was educated in a Western nation, and I think he's more open to modernization. He's also, I think, a bit more intelligent than they are. Maybe not as experienced in leading a country, but definitely more intelligent and can see a different future for North Korea in which it's similar to the South, because he knows how fucking well off everybody is in South Korea, even though they have social ills, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that I think the most logical pathway for North Korea would be something along the lines of China, where they used to be communist, but they slowly became more corporatist. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, if they make the transition, I think it'll be good for the country, as Sam said. I mean, particularly if they start bringing in like modern sort of agricultural equipment and upgrading a lot of that key stuff will actually help the nation. Sorry, got a lot of background noise, lots of Scottish noises coming here, so I'll mute myself.
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier to Ruffian, I think if they open up the borders at all, it's going to be something similar to China's mixed economy. But the other thing is, I mean, we have no idea how Kim Jong-un thinks. I have no idea what he's like or what his demeanor is or his personality. We can go off of like a couple of video appearances that maybe are a grand total of a couple hours. You know, politicians in the West are on TV nearly 24/7 or on Twitter or whatever. But I just don't know this guy. I can't really make any real prediction about what he's going to do.
I got an idea about this because I saw during the meeting, right, in his own country, he's treated like a living deity. But while I saw him with Trump, it's always kind of like, you know, the shy Japanese guy almost like, go here, follow that. Yo, bye. Oh, this is interesting. You know, that's kind of the vibe I got off of him. And I think he's like the textbook modern Asian, right? His parents are batshit insane, you know, because they still believed in junta and, you know, doing everything completely according to the book. And he's, I think, more business savvy, developed, non-insane. He lives in North Korea, so it's relative, of course, you know, what insanity defines, but
Right.
he just doesn't give a shit about communism, and nobody in the year 2000 should care about communism, right? I think ideology is has gone and passed, much like how religion, people just don't have that fire in them to keep that going. You need some kind of unreasonableness to keep that going. Not that I'm talking shit about ideology or religion now, but can you imagine modern youngsters just putting their foot down for fucking anything? Right?
Unless it's weed or video games, yeah, I guess. But
even then, would they grab the M14 and sit in the bush, you know, to defend their right for weed, right? You know, is Oregon going to rise again because they need to defend the weed? Of course not. Of course not.
yeah,
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Robert.
Well, if you look at Oregon, they're actually I calculated this, and third parties got about, this might not be entirely related at all, but third parties got about 8% of the vote, mostly Gary Johnson. So Oregon's more of a libertarian state than you might think.
Well, that's not the argument here. It's that people who care about libertarian or ultra-liberal values aren't going to defend them with their lives.
Well, I mean,
won't.
there's not a whole lot
That's
to
true.
defend in libertarianism. I mean, how do you defend, you know, lowering the power of the state? Maybe. I mean, unless you're like a hardcore constitutionalist, but even then, that's not even very fringe. That's
How does the common welfare of society affect me in any way? Checkmate, asshole.
dude, it doesn't even matter. Smoke weed, LMAO. That's basically all they're defending. But yeah, like I said, Kim Jong-un isn't an ideologue, and I'm pretty sure he's like, if I had to take a guess, he's pretty black-pilled on the whole North Korea thing because, you know, he's been all over the country looking at just how poor and destitute it is in comparison to when he was in Europe, and it's like, holy shit, we live in essentially what is Africa in comparison to the rest of the world. So I think he's...
I'd say it's better than Africa, but...
Well, I mean...
Anything is better than Africa.
Yeah, I was going to say
get
that's
what
a
I'm
pretty low
saying.
bar to compare anything
It
to.
could be like the fucking Stone Age, and it'd still be like, well, at least they don't have to work with blacks.
At least there's no AIDS in the Stone Age.
You could
the
compare it
Japs-
to maybe Morocco, or like some
Once
shitty
Commodore
North African
Perry's-
country.
Once Commodore Perry sailed into the Bay of Tokyo and started unloading the gunboats, I think the Japs were like, well, you know, at least we have a common people with which we can now learn stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's a great comparison, what you did there with North Africa. You know, like before Libya was destroyed, pretty decent place to live. I had a professor once in college who was Moroccan, and he would share all of his stories, and it seems to be a bit more sane than everybody else, but it's still, you know...
Was he a Berber?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, of course, because native Moroccans, Arabs, are pretty much the fucking worst, right? And Moroccans actually oppress the Berbers because Berbers aren't fucking retarded. And this is where most of the people who leave Morocco come from and go into like the universities and higher learning. It's because Berber tribesmen are on average much more intelligent than Moroccans.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a pretty decent comparison.
You wonder why all the Muslim. If you look at all the Muslim like scientists of the Middle Ages and everything before they became inbred and shit, a lot of them came from North Africa, and I don't think any of them were Arabs or Africans.
A lot of them were Iranian.
This is true.
I just wanted to say, I was looking up actually. Supposedly he was actually educated in Switzerland. So, I mean, him being having a clue what the rest of the world's like. I mean, if he was living in Switzerland for a while, Kim Jong-un he is probably a bit more switched on than what people think about the way the rest of the world works.
Right.
I mean,
Just throwing that out there.
And what was it, Yeltsin or Nikita Khrushchev? One of these two had, the same epiphany where they went to Western Germany and it was like, oh, the store shelves are filled. We're basically a filled state.
Who's the guy with the fucking kidney bean on his forehead? Is that Yeltsin?
Gorbachev.
Gorbachev.
Oh, Gorbachev. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Him and Yeltsin both, I think, saw the end of the Soviet Union. You could compare it to that as well.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of there when I was looking up his education, and it also made me think a little bit about Peter the Great. He traveled around a bit, he seen the rest of the world, then went back to Russia and went, you know what, boys, we kind of need to sort our shit out here.
Yeah,
No.
Russia,
You don't need to tour the world when you go to the Netherlands.
You can't beat a fucking Khanate until like the 1700s, like a fucking Central Asian Khanate. I mean, which sure it was, the Crimean Khanate. Sure it was guaranteed by the Ottomans, but when you have so much more land than they do, and you have a larger population, you can't defeat the Japanese. Or was this was the war for Port Arthur after Peter the Great?
That was way after Peter the Great.
Oh.
Yeah.
Peter the Great was
I think the season of Crimea might have been the 1700s.
No, that was also after Peter the Great. That's when Catherine the Great, or Catherine II, I think, was stomping around Crimea. And that's when the English and the French intervened on behalf of the Ottomans to stop the Russians.
Yeah. Catherine the Horsefucker was the one who got Crimea. It was.
It's heavily contested if she actually fucked any horses.
It's much funnier if I call her that, though.
No. That's not dignified, I think.
I think
there's plenty of accounts of her being a regular fought. There's no need to call her a horsefuck.
Personally, I think that female monarchs, it's pretty much guaranteed that they're never going to marry, because they want to hold on to like their power and prestige and shit.
Well, there's no male that is higher status than the queen, so that's going to be rather difficult.
Wait, isn't the word female monarch like kind of an oxymoron in itself? Like, should that even really be a thing?
It shouldn't, but it is.
I'm not a linguistic specialist to know the meaning. Like somebody's gonna come along and be like, yeah, it comes from the Latin term anastos, which came from the pseudo-Iranian Hittite language.
It comes from the Greek word monos, which means alone, and the Greek word akain, which means to rule.
Well, there you go.
The one who alone rules.
Which came from the Wakandan term to get all the booty.